Innovation Unplugged from the Alabama Community College System's Innovation Center takes you inside Alabama's workforce development. Join us for enlightening conversations with community leaders and industry experts showcasing experiences, addressing key issues, and celebrating successes in the workforce initiatives across the state. Welcome to the Innovation Unplugged podcast. This is our first episode, and I'm Houston Blackwood, Workforce Director for the Innovation Center, and I have Julie Frizzell, Executive Director for the Innovation Center. This is exciting.
Yes, it is. This is the first of many to come.
So when we met, tell me about the first time we met. I don't know if I remember exactly.
Gosh. The first time we met, it was either one of two places. It was either at Barber Motorsports or was it at Clanton, Jeff State school bus meeting. It was one of those two. I can't remember.
Well, in person, I think it was actually at Barber Motor Speedway.
Yeah, I think that was first. Yeah,
we had that crazy project. There was like a Friday afternoon budget, buy some equipment, $1 million, spend it now.
Yeah, I remember that. That was our first interaction together. Yes,
but typical to the Innovation Center. It was all by Zoom or email.
Yeah,
and we didn't see each other for months.
Right. Had no idea who you were, what you did, where you were from. I was told, hey, reach out to Houston. He has all the answers.
Well, yeah, and that's what they said to me. It's like, hey, call Julie. She's really smart and she knows all this stuff. So y'all figure it out.
Yeah, and we did.
At like 2:00 in the afternoon on a Friday.
On a Friday. Yeah, we did.
But that, looking back now, I think that was exactly great foreshadowing of what we do now. Absolutely. And how it goes, because it seems like a lot of times we do 2:00 on Friday. Let's figure out this really complex task.
We do. We solve the world's problems, innovations in a way, Friday afternoons.
Yeah, Friday afternoons. So where were you when, great question, all things historical, because one day this will be a historical moment in the college system. Where were you when the Innovation Center became a thing in your mind?
In my mind, where was I? Like physically?
Like the first time you heard about it. What is this thing and why are they talking about it?
Honestly, the first time I heard about it was when I was interviewing for a job with the community college system. So it was part of kind of the role that I was, looking into and trying to see if that was a move or, something I wanted to do. And I had worked a lot with our workforce development in manufacturing for so long, and I knew the importance of really training and education and how important that was for somebody to be able to prosper and to be able to really go the next step in their career is they've got to learn somewhere. And so in my prior to my mid-year crisis, I'm just kidding, my prior life in manufacturing and automotive, I'd meet people day in and day out and people that worked for me that they had done the same job for 20 years, 25 years, going on 30 years. And I'm like, don't you want to do something different? Don't you want to learn a new skill or be better? And so I always would try to find opportunities for somebody to learn. Like, okay, hey, let's put you over here this week. Let's get you to, go over here with Houston and learn what he's doing and see how you like it. And so when I really heard about the Innovation Center, it connected with me because it was, number one, it was all about people and helping people be better, helping them have a better life, and not traditionally college stuff, because that word college scares so many people. So when I first heard Innovation Center, it was just kind of like this light went off, like, oh my gosh, like they got it. Something new.
Something new.
So it was in an interview for my first job with the community college system, and that was part of the role.
Okay.
Was to really kind of help develop that and get it off the ground. So
I didn't know that when we met. I didn't learn that you were part of the Innovation Center, quote unquote, for months until like after we were all working together. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
First time I heard about it, I was at Calhoun, and probably 2 years into doing workforce, like doing training, and Leah Bigby had just started at Jeff State, and she sent me this flyer, and it said these rapid training programs centers, and there was one planned for Decatur, which is now the actual Innovation
building,
Center.
yeah.
But we had no prior knowledge, and so all I get was from my counterpart this flyer about these rapid programs in my area, not even like 5 minutes from my office. And so my first phrase was not appropriate for public broadcasting, but
imagine that.
And so, of course, Leah's kind of the same way. She's feisty, and so we were like, "What the heck? What are we doing? What is this?" And so we started doing some, research, and no one really knew. Like none of us knew what it was, which was also foreshadowing. And so having to tell the message every time we talk. So then we did some digging, we figured out what it was. But then I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. And like you, I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, that's something. And I wondered, can I be a part of that? But I had no idea what it looked like. And so I was like, oh man, this is going to be good.
I think nobody really knew what to expect.
No.
Like, I mean, we all knew this was something that could really take off and make a difference, but I don't think we knew like how big it was going to be, how many people were going to be involved, and like that it is sustainable, honestly. Like that was, I think, our biggest like eye-opening is once we started building our team and like seeing the difference that things made. Like you don't really think that in the beginning, you know? Like
no,
you just can't. No concept of it.
Because you see like the potential, but there's just no way to really, especially in the college system and public education, like things move so slow.
Yeah.
And you typically aren't able to take the gloves off like we are, you know? So when I think about Kailah and Brandi, and they when they came on, first time I met them, like all of it's so random, you know, and I can't wait to hear their story about what they were thinking the first time they heard about it. So you interviewed for a job knowing this was part of it.
I did, because I came in with that experience, you know, real life experience, running a plant, running financials, knowing how much training costs, knowing that you say college to a 20-year-old student who's never thought they could be a college student, going, hey, you're going to go through this training, like they'd look at you crazy. But knowing that I knew this was something going to be good. I had a feeling. Like I prayed a lot about it, because you don't make a move without giving it to the Lord.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I did. I prayed a lot about it, and I prayed about like, if this is the right, like if this is going to be something that God wanted me to be a part of and like really make a difference, that it would be big and it would be grand and it would be the best thing since sliced bread, and definitely is.
It has been, yeah. So they came on that Red Show a couple of days before, or maybe it was a couple of days before, they came asking about, I think it was chemical operator, a course for that, and Calhoun had a short course in the process tech, and they were like, well, how do you do this, or how would you put this together? I'm like, oh, I don't know, you just live that, whatever, you know. I don't even remember what I said. But then they called a couple of days later, and they were like, hey, can you tell that again? And so we went through it in more detail, and actually, and I had thought about it, because I thought, if they're asking, I mean, it might be a thing, you know, so, because I'm always selfish like that. And so I had more of a plan, and it came basically taking parts of the degree program and parts of our non-credit, like customized training plan, and put it together, and they're like, okay, thanks. And it was all. I was like, okay.
You didn't hear anything else after that.
So then like the day before they actually came to Calhoun, they called, and they were like, hey, one more time, how would you do this in terms of like actual instruction? So, and I mentioned something, if you could do it off site, it'd be really good, and do the hands-on just there. Long story short, here we are. But and for me, it was just like, well, this is really cool. And I loved Calhoun, loved everybody. And Dr. Hodges had just started, but it was just like, okay, this is different. And this is going to be at least fun, really fun for a long time.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But so here's the question, though, and I think that we've all asked ourselves this a lot. Why did you stay? Like, so you knew it had potential, but we're 2 years in.
Yeah.
Like officially, like right now is right about the time we really got going with some stuff 2 years ago. So why are you still here? What makes you come back every day?
I mean, I think it's because there's something new, and there's new adventures through this and new challenges that we haven't even embarked on yet. And I think that's what makes it exciting, because we've talked and we've strategized about how can we serve our state, how can we serve people that don't even know the college system exists for them. Like, I mean, that they can be a part of anything to make their lives better. And I think that's why, I mean, because we embark on new challenges every day, and we have new requests coming in every day, and it's always something different, and no 2 weeks are the same. I mean, when you work in automotive manufacturing, you know, you go in every week, you know, you got first shift, second shift, you've got shift meetings, you've got everything, you've got financials due everything is the same.
Yeah.
Like there's challenges, there's things that, come up and you have to face problems and solve things, but it's always very typical. You've probably encountered something similar to it before, and this is totally different. Like
Every time.
this is, hey, you've got somebody down in South Alabama needing something, and they're in this industry, and there's no program whatsoever across the state that is helping this industry. And then we get pulled into a meeting. It's like, hey, how can y'all help? And I mean, we ask questions, and our number one answer is, yeah, we can help. We don't say no a lot. And so when we don't say no, there's always room to continue to grow our programs. So I think that's what makes it exciting and makes me come back every single day, because it's always something new. And we get to see those stories. Like we get to see those students and the lives and their families and their kids. Like when we go to a lab or when we go to an event, we really see the impact and you hear the stories. So I love that. What about you? Like what makes you come every day with a smile on your face like you do?
Yeah. Definitely that challenge, but then that variety. When I came from K-12 and as an administrator, like your day is not as routine as a teacher's, but it's still a routine. You're there at 7:15 and here come the buses, here come the cars, here comes the schedule, and all the stuff. And like you run through your day and there's always some shenanigans that make it different. But then you get to college, like it was always a new company.
Yeah.
And for the customized training, that was really fun because it might be a helicopter maintenance one day or it might be spreadsheet, but it's a new company with new people. But then, it was just in a region. And so when this came along and we started playing and one of the first things we did was food and beverage and then the school bus course. And that just took off like a rocket. We had a fantastic course and the content was really good and the graphics were good and the course flowed well. But seeing that impact and seeing those K-12 transportation supervisors, which are the hardest working horses in the non-classroom, and so you see those people latch onto it. And I was like, oh, okay, we got something. And then we started into the CDL, and then we got heavy equipment and the course that Brandi built, which then was Brandi and Chad. Chad filmed it and Brandi made it happen. And it was so good, and just that skit, it just took off.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, if we can do it with that machine, we can do it with any machine that there is. And then just the wheels started turning of, okay, well, here are all the things that I could never do at Calhoun. And it took me back to my classroom days and seeing those students who I knew didn't need to go to college. They were smart enough, but they had no interest. They couldn't sit still. The last thing you want to do was read a PowerPoint or go through a book or take a test on paper. And so I remember this kid named Zach. He had the dirtiest boots and his jeans were always dirty because he got up and played in the dirt in the mornings and he would skip school sometimes to go do other things. So that kind of kid is who we're serving now. And that's what brings me back every day. Those Zachs of the world. And, because there's somebody we can reach. I think about the Sumter County Skilled Trades Group that's coming on later in another episode. Man, that's who we're at. That's why we were created, for that kind of group and the school bus people. And so it's just been good. But when you see people, I guess the thing that really makes me stay is always to create that course or that experience that brings the Christy Farmers back or brings them to give us a reference.
All right, tell us who Christy Farmer is.
So Christy
Nobody
Farmers,
knows.
Well, and that's one of the gems. When we're statewide, and so these people, they come from all walks of life. Christy is the, I guess, operations manager for HR manager for Marshall DeKalb Electric. They were the first actual CDO course, and it was in June or July, and they had 5 people, and we had not tested this thing really for a whole class. We had one kid go through, but it was kind of a done deal. But these were 5 different guys from 5 different parts of the division, and actually one guy from another company. And so she was the driver for our first CDL lab, the first one we did in a week. It was funny because we used our theory, we used a college's a college's tester, and then we used another college's instructor. And so we did it at Marshall DeKalb site using the contractor's truck. So it could not have been more different. But
but it all worked. Like it worked, all those pieces together.
Yeah, but I was terrified because right away, this is new, and you could tell that you don't say no to Christy, and you don't make Christy unhappy. She's just one of those people, like you want to do right, but you know that she expects quality. And so we did it, and Chastity taught it, and all 5 people passed on Thursday and Friday, and they started on Monday. So then I knew, like, okay, if we can meet that need,
we have something special. Yeah.
And then it wasn't that long ago that she referred us to Central Alabama Electric Cooperative. And then when they called and said, hey, Christy Farmer told us to call you, and then they called me on my cell phone, I was like, okay, we've arrived, at this point when now the statewide references are happening. And so, that kind of stuff, that's why we're here. That's why we made these things, to meet those needs. And so it was just really cool to see that that progression from an unknown to a very good commodity.
And what that's led to. I mean, kind of like the opportunities that's led to, and how other, I guess, municipalities see a difference, other organizations and small companies, because I think that's one thing we hear when we go to conferences across the state. Oh, training, it's for the big companies. It's for those large companies, but it's not. What we do is for anybody, individually, small company, large company, medium size, doesn't matter. We're here to meet all their needs.
Yeah, Chad Sutton at LBW, he has CDO class, and it lasts a week, and there might be 6 or 7 people in there, and they're all from different places. Like I don't think there's ever been more than 2 in his class from the same company.
Yeah,
and they bring their own truck, and it works great. So that kind of stuff.
And that's a small town. Not a big. It's not Birmingham.
No, it's not a big place. Big reach though. Huge reach for his department. He's coming on in a later episode too. What's your biggest win so far of all the things we've done and all the things we've been a part of? What's your biggest win?
Our biggest win, honestly.
Your biggest win, like the thing that you take the most pride in all the skills for success.
God, that's a hard one. Wow. The first one that makes you tear up, because that's the one. I don't know if I can say it without tearing up. Could I stop for a second?
Sure. Hold that thought and figure out how to say it. But for us, for me, it's for CDL for Quintez Finch. And I don't know if that's what you were going to say. So Quintez was a student out of Bishop State, Mobile area, and he was working a warehouse job. And he I don't even know how we got his name or how he got our number, but he took the CDLB course in a week and took the theory. Training was less than 2 weeks, and got a job with I think it's Bama Concrete. And anyway, he got a job with a concrete company, and he's in one of our videos, and his statement was, after the training, he didn't even have his hard copy yet of his license.
Oh yeah,
he still had his paper copy, and they hired him, and now he works a very stable hour. He works like 5 to 2, 5 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon. He's home with his kids every evening. He's making double the money.
Yeah,
and he's home every day, home every evening, and so. What that quality of life is like must be pretty good, because last Father's Day, last June, he sent me a text. He's like, hey, from me and my kids, happy Father's Day.
Wow.
Like, I'm not his dad, but he understood the quality of his life changed.
Yeah.
Because he was
given an opportunity.
And he took it, and he just took advantage of it. And so for me, and there are a lot like that, a lot of young men and women like that. But that one's the biggest, because he literally improved his life instantly.
Yeah. All right. Maybe I can keep it together for this one. I think the biggest win, what is so special to me is everybody always asks, oh, this is for an adult learner. This is for somebody who's, been out of high school for 15 years and doesn't really have a high salary, paying job. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's for anyone who needs to get trained and get into a job. And so I think one of the most touching and memorable times for me was when we went to a high school, the very first high school we went to. And I'm not going to name names because I don't want to call out certain individuals, but it was, and everybody in our team knows what high school that is. Yeah. But the teachers were just so welcoming and open to, hey, this is going to give our students an opportunity to learn something we can't teach them in the classroom. Right. We can't keep them in their seats in the classroom.
That's right.
We can't keep them coming to the classroom or even showing up for school. And so this very first time we offered heavy equipment to high school students. The teachers were, they were telling us the stories, and then of prior to the lab day, hands-on training, Just how motivated their students were, because this was something different. It wasn't math. It wasn't science. It wasn't, hey, let's go build this science project and teach you something. It was, hey, I get to get my hands dirty. I get to put on my boots and I get to go outside and I get to operate equipment.
Yeah.
And one of the stories was a young man who had gone through a lot with his family, gone through a lot and just didn't even want to be at school. Didn't even want to be there.
Yeah.
And then when they introduced Skills for Success to their class, what a difference it made.
Yeah.
He was there every day.
Yeah.
He was like the first one to finish his online course.
Yeah.
He was going, okay, when are we going to get to go do our training with this equipment? Like, when are we going to get to go do it? And that was literally like the hope that individual needed. And it wasn't exactly about what he was going to learn, but it was something that took his mind off of things that were hurting him, his family. They were in a time of just grief, and this gave him hope. And when he got to the lab, I remember, I just watched like interactions between other students and with their teachers, and they were the biggest motivators to each other. And that was what I think will always be in my heart was, it didn't matter how old these students were. Every one of them are now prepared to go into the workforce with a skill that they can make a good living with. And to see that it gave hope and opportunity to those kids, or not kids, I shouldn't say kids, those students. And just really, it made a difference. It made a difference because now they were more apt to come to class and actually do that math.
Yeah, there's some accountability,
because there was other programs that we're offering that they can now look forward to. And so that was really kind of the biggest, I guess I call it aha moment.
Oh, for sure.
The aha moment was,
graduation ceremony.
That graduation ceremony, yeah.
So I remember standing in the back of that room, watching that, and I knew how good the course was. I knew how good the lab was, but I didn't know how good the impact would feel.
Yeah.
Watching it, and there was a room full of parents, and I think that's one of the busiest graduation ceremonies, certainly most attended. And I think it was because it was a high school. You just have that natural, let's get together and celebrate. But standing in the back of that room, watching those parents and the grandparents, a lot of grandparents, I was just like, man, okay, so if we can replicate this K-12, and that was in April, May.
Yeah, I think it was end of April. Yeah.
And we had, and so that was like, okay, so if we can do that with this group, then we could do it for, like we should do this with K-12. Like it went so well because we weren't sure, because K-12 was not part of our plan at first. And then we was like, oh, look at this. Okay, man, that kicked open a door, didn't it?
Yeah. And that day, I'll never forget this. That day was the same room that we had a graduation for one of our very first heavy equipment classes.
Yeah, ironic.
And the graduation day for that, I'll never forget, this grandmother of one of the students comes up. And this was mid-aged gentleman.
Yeah.
Said he's never completed anything in his life. Yeah. He's never finished.
Yeah.
And we are more proud of him now than we've ever been before. And so that was an adult student and a high school student in the same classroom, months apart, and just how proud those families were that these individuals took the time to get this training because they knew how important it was, and what doors it would open. And I think that's what we're all about, opening those doors.
It's hard to explain to people when they ask, how can you do this for us? And like, well, how do you need it done? Yeah. And that's the hard question. Sometimes, and we sit around, and you and me and Kailah and Brandi, and we're like, well, okay, well, here's this topic. We've never talked about this. How in the world are we going to deliver this? Y'all were texting this weekend about the electrical helper and framing helper, and they're buying these kits. We're going to buy these little houses and tear them down and put them back together and move them around and do it again. But seeing that accessibility, I think, to anybody, anywhere, anytime, really we could do it on Monday, we could do it on Wednesday, we could do it on Friday and Saturday, we do it Sunday, we do it evenings. How do you think that accessibility has impacted the state and the college system and just our stakeholders in general, like our ability to provide pretty much any way you need it?
Yeah, it's huge. I think that's when we first started, like when we all became like full-time into this. I remember conversations we had was, we have to take down the barriers.
Yeah.
We have to just eliminate barriers. no matter what it is, if it's legal and if it's doable, we're going to figure out a way. And honestly, we kind of have. I mean, there's, like you said, I mean, we're not Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. I mean, training happens anytime. Yeah. Training happens wherever. It doesn't have to be on a college campus. And that's one thing, you know, everybody's like, oh, well, which colleges are doing this? Okay, yeah, we connect you with a college, but it's about where can they do it? Can we go to your job site? Can we go to your facility and train? Yes. So I think it's those barriers and really providing answers, like, because we have industries that kind of say, hey, here's some of the barriers we have. And through, I mean, the support that we're given through the community college, through our legislation, through all of the statewide associations that have been a part of this, we find ways to just knock those barriers down and say they're not a barrier anymore. Like, don't worry about it.
So the K-12, we serving that. We've had elderly. Yeah. That's a good word. You know, guys who are been retired. Yeah. They just want to do something new.
Veterans, retired veterans.
Yeah. Yeah. They want to work for their church because they're on the disaster relief team. You know, Ingram State has done 6 or 7 labs, skid steer labs. They did a Dozier lab, you know, for the day reporting centers. And they've done 2 classes at Uniontown inside the wire, which I had no idea we would ever have that reach. And, you know, but they figured it out. And in looking at the calendar before we walked in, they've got 3 labs in November and December at the Perry County facility, inside the wire. So these students are soon to be reentry, you know, to the general pipe. So they're going to have that right away. As soon as they are ready to go, they have a demonstratable skill, you know. And like, how powerful is that? It doesn't matter if you're 14 years old for certain courses and still walking and still able, you know, and still able to get after a little bit. You can take these courses. And so like, who does that besides us?
That's hard.
Who does it quickly and well besides us? You know, and that's what I'm thankful for. And that's not an arrogant statement. That's not an arrogant question. It's just, we are uniquely able to do that. And that's one of the things, the question earlier, why do we stay? That's another thing, because it doesn't matter who they are, where they are. We can find a solution.
Well, we make those connections. Yeah. I think that we connect the dots. So we connect the dots to, you have training, you have partnerships, and then we connect them to employers. And I think that's one thing. A lot of times people start with the beginning. I mean, start with the end instead of the beginning. Yeah. Oh, yeah, here's you an employer, but wait, you don't have a skill yet. Yeah. So I think we took it to a different level and said, okay, we can give you some skills. We can help you be able to, you know, fast track an onboarding and have somebody ready to go to work, and not 30 to 60 days later once they get in your door. Yeah. So connecting them by having them skilled and then having them ready to take those jobs and knowing who's going to hire them. Like, I think that's what's so cool about it too. I mean, we've had labs where we've had competing companies, like, you know, grabbing students and going, hey, let me tell you about my job opportunities. And then the other one going, hey, but guess what? We'll pay you 15% more base pay than anybody starting out without this training. So that's the cool part, is that opportunity for training exists, but that opportunity to connect with a job is what's most important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when you look at like Indeed or, you know, job sites, they always ask for experience or something. And so a couple of times I've secret shopped them or just called the number like, hey, listen, I don't have any experience, but I went through this course. You know, I've got the certificate, just put it, you know, and all the stuff. And they're like, well, send us a certificate, you know, apply and we'll see what happens. You know, it sounds good. Yeah. You know, and I've never obviously followed up because I have a job, but I think, well, if I'm an individual doing that, then it, you know, it would work for them too. So we're 2 years in, and, you know, we've had funding now for into our 3rd year. We're officially into our 3rd year of funding. If you look back from the summer when you first hired on, or maybe the spring when you hired on, and then this became a real thing, would you say that your expectations have been met, and where you thought we would be at this point in 2 years?
Oh, definitely. I think exceeded my expectations. I think because I'm not going to say anything was slow to start, but we were learning. Oh, like, sure. I mean, we were building, what do we call it? Building the plane as we're flying the plane as we're doing it. There we go. We hear that all the time. And I don't think I really understood the the reach, I guess.
No
concept of the reach, because I go back to like now and looking at our course builds, and we don't say no a lot because there's a need.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, how do we get connected to the Manufacturer Housing Association and how awesome these guys are? And there's a need there, just like there is with excavator training or hospitality training. And I think that was the part that I didn't grasp at first, like how big that reach can be. Because we hear, there's 16 clusters that our state really talks about.
Yeah, 16.
But there's 16 more that they forget about.
Oh, sure.
But we're not. Like it, and it doesn't matter how big that industry is in our state. We always look to where the jobs are. Like, is there a certain number of jobs that this training will help support? But it's not because that industry is small. It's just because they may be not as, I don't know, loud as other industries. And so that's what's really cool is I could have never comprehended like the reach that we would have at this point, just 2 years in. Yeah.
It, with the Alabama Board of Nursing asked about a nurse tech, which has been such a hot topic around the state for training, and the biomanufacturing, we jumped into that, really just jumped in the fight. We had no dog in that race. We had no reason to be out there. But we just jumped in and said, we can do that better. Yeah. We can do that. And, manufactured housing, I had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah.
But watching that process, the excavator course, it's about to come out. I mean, it's, I think Friday, we're going to release it Friday. But it's so good. And even though it was a second reshoot of the videos, like the new videos are, and I think that's the adaptability of what we do and as a team, but specifically, because if the course was crap, the online course is crap, that we'd be done a long time ago. And so having those just beautiful courses, and I think the excavator is our best. The skid steer for a long time was, I think, our best, and then fiber came along, and it just kept getting prettier and better and more fluid. But this one really serves like, I know enough about machines to be dangerous, but you think when I was watching it, I was thinking about somebody who's never been around it, or maybe is really intimidated, like Eric, the worker, the way they captured him, like from the overview and bringing it down to like micro, like a 30-second video where here's the idler wheel and here's what it does and here's how you grease it to make it expand. Well, like who thinks about greasing something to make it expand? Well, nobody until they go through this course, and now it's part of their job. And so our ability to just pivot and adapt and make that course like on the macro and the micro, but effective at both levels. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I've never seen it, and I've taken a lot of courses, and most of them are crap. But these really are. And so taking that thought that of where we are, and you say expectations are blown away, what happens in the next 2 years? What's your 5-year plan? So what is it? What are we going to look like in 2 years? What are we going to look like?
That's the $1 million question.
Can you even can you comprehend that any more than you couldn't comprehend what it looked like 2 years ago?
No, I know. I mean, we've talked about strategize, what
good luck.
What can we do? Where can we further our reach? Like what areas? And I think, rewind for 5 seconds.
Okay.
What we do is so important because what we've heard from our colleges, from our college presidents, when the Innovation Center first came out, was we don't have enough resources to build courses. We don't have the know-how to build courses. We don't have the team to put everything together and wrap it up with a bow. And we don't have all the instructors. So when we get questions about, can you provide a training? If it's something we can find a third-party instructor to do, the answer is usually yes. But if not, there was not a lot of creativity or customizable training developed for our state. So I think that's where we stand apart from everybody else is it's sustainable. Like it's sustainable training that's going to last because we have a devoted team of resources, internal, our IC team. We have resources external that help us build courses, but we have, first of all, the ability to really go and be innovative. Yeah. And that's why we are the Innovation Center. So when I guess that question is, I think I see a little bit further now than I probably could a year and a half ago. but I still think we're going to be blown away 2 years. When we have the conversation in 2 years, we're going to be like, oh my gosh, I didn't think that was going to happen, but it will. But we're already looking into those things. Like, okay, how can we expand what we do? How can we serve all areas of the state? Maybe it's in a different way. And what that looks like, nobody really has a full understanding yet. But I think as we have more conversations and we see the need for really training in a way that hasn't been done before. Like, right. So not just customized training, but more like, okay, how do we sustain training? How do we offer professional development for the industries that we're serving now through Skills for Success? Because that's been the other thing. Like, there's some things that our current clients have been saying, hey, this is like, I mean, I would have never imagined you built a course like this, but here's some of our other needs. Yeah. So how do we serve that? So yeah, I think the doors are wide open to what's possible.
Julie, this has been fun, but we are only, a part of this team. And so we're going to turn it over to Brandi and Kailah to get their
superstars,
rock stars. Because their input is, it's gonna be really good to hear their story on how they came.
All right, so let's tell their roles, like what they do.
Yeah, so Brandi is our curriculum director of curriculum. She's the chief of all the cute courses, the cute and snazzy, sexy courses, and then Kailah is our director of communications and community engagement. So she brings all the people to the party and does a fantastic job of organizing. The state, I can say that.
Yeah.
The state and bringing them to us, and then we go.
And social media. She's our social media queen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm excited to hear what they have to say too, and then they're going to be really good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
This was great.
Well done, boss.
Good job.
So I'm Brandi Merrill. I'm the Director of Curriculum Design for the Innovation Center. And who are you?
I am Kailah Dozier, and I do community engagement, marketing, and social media for the Innovation Center.
So Jill of all.
Yes.
All things outward speaking.
Absolutely.
Outward looking. So Houston earlier asked Julie a question, and I think it'd be a good question for us to start off with is Innovation Center. Like, what did you think when you first heard about it?
Well, I came from a four-year institution. So when we started discussing workforce, it was something that I was connecting the dots. And so the Innovation Center, how they described it to me, honestly, in a way, seemed too good to be true, which is really the answer that I get from everybody whenever we give, whether it's our elevator pitch or our presentation on why you should use us as a resource. And everyone says it is too good to be true. And so we spend the next few minutes trying not necessarily to convince them that it's not too good to be true, but painting a picture that we really are a great resource and an option for them. And
the tail end of that is there's no cost. And then they're like,
yes,
that's the case.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So whenever I think about then what is the Innovation Center, it was more so truly just I was trying to figure that out for myself. And so even now on the other side of this, it's still convincing myself this really is not too good to be true, but how do we paint that picture and market that to everyone else? So,
which is easy. I mean, not truly easy, because that would say that your job is easy, but I mean, telling the story is easy.
Absolutely. This is why we're doing this podcast too, because we want to continue to tell that story and connect the dots for the state of Alabama on why we do what we do and how we can be a resource for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so many people are like, hey, okay, so what is the elevator pitch? What is the Innovation Center? And then even on top of that, some people will be like, well, not only what is that, but what Skills for Success? Like they don't know the difference. And so we've seen the evolution of that, kind of coming in. We saw it start from Innovation Center and then, branch off into this other thing called Skills for Success. So what's your elevator pitch on that? Like,
yes.
What do you say?
So the ACCS Innovation Center, so the Alabama Community College System, is the ACCS Innovation Center is a branch of the system office. And what we do is we create rapid workforce training for business and industry needs. So what that means is we are able to listen to your needs, whether that's your industry or your specific business, and create a course that is for you and for the people that you are trying to hire. And the object and the goal is to offset the hiring process by 30 to 60 days. So with that said, we're able to deliver those courses for a business and industry, but also help our Alabamians find jobs that are in demand right now. And so it's a win-win for our economy, it's a win-win for our businesses, and it's a win-win because the community college system is able to meet that need in the community. And we do that through each of the 24 colleges across the state.
It's so much fun.
It is so much fun.
Watching the evolution of that and watching like those industry people come who may or may not have had that opportunity for that level of customized training before. To come with a thought and then watch that thought become what we deliver. You know, that I think that's probably one of the cooler aspects of it for me. Coming out of the classroom for the last 18 years, teaching skills, so taught ultrasound for 18 years. You know, when you watch a student go from no knowledge to being able to walk out and into a job, super cool. But in a different respect, it's so awesome to watch an industry come and not know exactly what we do. And then when we get to deliver that and like tie it up with a bow and hand it back and then watch it like go out to those 24 community colleges and then knowing the impact that it has, it's just, you know, it's what makes this whole thing really, really special.
Absolutely.
Really special.
And I want to tie in what is Skills for Success. Mm-hmm. So Skills for Success are the courses that the Innovation Center develops. So Brandi just talked about how we develop these courses for business and industry. So she kind of hit on it just then where you're literally saying sometimes they know what they need, but they don't really know what they need. And so whenever we ask questions and we kind of dig deep, we're able to build these courses in other companies or industries, or can we have that, but can we tweak it for our specific company or our industry? And so that is where we have 18 courses at the moment.
I was going to say it was the Burger King Have It Your Way. I don't know if we can do that and we can say that. We'll give them maybe why.
As a marketing person, I don't know if we can actually say.
Maybe we can. We should have a little Burger King jingle. But yeah, I mean, like literally you can have it your way, exactly how you want it. You know, whatever those industries say they need, which is what makes it so special. Mm-hmm. You know, is you get to kind of build there's another tagline we use all the time too, which is how we make the sausage, you know. And so when they come and say, these are the things that we want, here's the recipe for, you know, X worker or A worker or B worker, this is exactly what we want. And we're like, okay, we'll build that. Whatever you want.
Absolutely.
Say what you want. So it's fun. All right. So I guess the next question I would have for you is what does a typical day look like in your role, Kailah?
A typical day is one that I probably cannot describe as the same day every day, which is fun. So ideally, you know, with social media, there's so many events, so many labs that we have going on every single day. So doing our best to capture and tell the story of each community college that's having a lab is sometimes not difficult, but I'm always telling our coordinators, hey, here's your bullet list of things that we need to identify to make sure that we're recognizing every community partner that is helping that lab be successful in their community. And so, you know, while that's going on in the background, we still have our website that is being developed, and we are making that hopefully be a resource for anyone to go to and find what they need to deliver a course in their community, but also to promote what they're doing. So we kind of touched on it a second ago that we want these businesses that we're delivering for to also tell our story, because we are helping them be successful, and that's part of our success as well. So going to different events, going to conferences. I never thought I would travel so much in a job, especially a state job. And so,
so tell me, when you travel to those, do you ever have car meetings?
I think our team spends more time talking on the phone and strategizing than we do sitting in an office. And I think that part is what makes this team successful as well. Houston touched on it earlier that it's really not an 8 to 5, and that is true because we grab any nugget of time we have to either pick each other's brain, talk about something I wouldn't say wrong is going on, but just a curveball that we're yes. And so in the midst of being disconnected, dropped phone calls, we're trying to drive safely.
But it's such a dynamic work setting.
Absolutely.
Like, I think we have talked about how that is truly probably the most creative. And I know those two like to say, well, this is the creative side of the house. It's all in all. I mean, like all four of us, like we get on a call like that and there is some massive think tanking going on. You know, we have come up with some magnificent ideas doing that. Matter of fact, we talked about how that maybe season 2 podcast would be like on the road with Innovation Center. And so we're just driving around talking.
Carpool karaoke.
So even better. I don't know about singing, but maybe. That'd be kind of scary. But yeah. Anyway, any questions for me?
What is your biggest win?
Oh, gosh. I heard when he asked that one earlier. So I think each week it really kind of depends on what has gone on that week. And so sometimes if I had to think back to just one specific, it would lend back to the first, and it was impactful. I don't know about this is not a me personal, but I guess having built the skid steer course and been so involved like from day one with that course, it really would kind of lend back to that first lab. And there was a student in there with some learning disabilities, and that family coming and talking about how, you know, this their child, you know, had not seen much educational success or wins educationally. And, you know, they were a little bit hesitant that, you know, maybe having gone through the online portion of the course, that maybe like the practical hands-on would challenge him or her, and, you know, that maybe he would need some additional time or something like that. And then this person went on to just kill it, you know, just absolutely slayed it and went on to do other courses. And so I think, you know, from I don't even know, like a big 10,000 foot level of watching impact, like to hear those individual stories, I still kind of, I go back to thinking about that. One win is like why we serve, why we do what we do, and why do we pull these extra hours, and why do we answer all these calls and emails and text messages, and, you know, why do we go what sometimes seems like 24/7? And it's for that. And I think that's what makes this team super unique, is that we're all kind of like-minded in that respect, in that it's a very service-centered goal, you know, is that we all see. And you know, in thinking about, I think Houston earlier talked about a 2-year plan or a 3-year plan, or I don't even know. Like, we've seen so many changes happen just within 18 months. I have no idea. You know, like you said, like K-12, we didn't know about it happening. You know, all of these things are wins, you know, in that, whether it's in the day or in the week. But I think that keeping that service-centered mentality, you know, of watching this and how impactful it is, not just to that person, but knowing that it's happening exponentially across the state is huge. So
Absolutely.
yeah. And you get to see it all the time with social media.
Yes, all the time. And even to take it one step further, you mentioned that first lab. I came from being an academic advisor for student athletes, and we talked about all the time how they can get hands-on training, or how can they go and shadow someone to make sure that that's the degree plan that they want to follow. And at our labs, at one lab in particular that I was able to attend, we had a few businesses there, and they were going around and talking to individual students about where they saw themselves going, were they wanting to use this new skill to be hired. And a handful of them, that was the first time they've ever spoken to an employer.
Yeah.
For a 10th grader to be able to kind of pump their chest up a little bit and say, hey, you saw me on the skid steer, right? And so they're building professional development in such a practical way. And I saw kind of the light bulb go off for a couple of them. And that was super rewarding because we can teach in a classroom all day long. But with Skills for Success, they are able to get their hands-on training, but also have exposure to employers in hopes that they are employed. And that is the intent. And we've had some awesome employers step up, show up, and share their story of why someone should come work for them instead of just filling out an application and hoping for the best.
We saw that with the boot camp this summer that Southern Union did. You know, they were kind of walking around and competing. And it's always kind of cool to hear because, you know, having 24 community colleges across the state, and they do such a good job of delivering all things that they deliver. But watching them kind of adopt our model and push it out there for their communities is fun. It's not... I was amazed, actually, at that boot camp to listen to the boots on the ground folks know those students as if they had been in their classroom for a year. You know, like I had that privilege coming out of the, teaching in a program. I mean, I'd have a set of students, you know, maybe 10, 12, 15 students. I'd have them for like 18 months. I knew them. I knew them very well. I knew their families. I knew everything about them. But I had a long time to develop that relationship with those individual students and watch that development in terms of their skill level. But I think the coolest part about this summer, that boot camp specifically, was watching those college folks with their boots on the ground know those students. And they'd only had, you know, a minute really like to get to know them because these courses are built so that, you know, students can take them anywhere, anytime. You know, they're a student of the college, but these folks are not seeing that student every day. They're not even really seeing them until they come to a lab. You know, they're maybe talking to them and communicating with them and that kind of thing, digitally or virtually or whatever. But, you know, for them to truly know them, I think it shows like we see the impact, but I also think it's such a good opportunity for the community to see what the impact the college can have, you know, so we get to have all the fun of this. I mean, we get to develop these courses and work with industry and kind of build all of these cool and fun things. But then when we get to hand it off, I don't know, I've said it's almost like watching little birds fly, you know, like the mama bird built, you know, has the baby and it's in the nest, and then you kick that bird out of the nest and watch it fly. And that's kind of how these courses are. You know, and then we get to watch them soar, you know, with all these individual students all across the state. It's pretty cool.
Well said.
I don't know, maybe too many analogies, but in either case. All right, so that'll wrap up our first podcast ever, actually. So thanks for listening. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow on all podcast platforms. Thanks so much.